So in this tutorial 3, we shall be uh, first of all we'll be discussing about the theoretical background of PN junction, the built-in potential and the Hall effect, and then we'll proceed with the numericals. Now, the concept and the theories that we have developed in the last two lectures, okay, they are very much important to understand the working of any electronic devices, because these devices, electronic devices, they are made up of PN junctions. Like for simple diode, okay, it has two regions, P and N, and in between there's one junction. If I talk about the transistor, it can be NPN or PNP. SCR, it is PNPN, four layer three junction device. So to understand the working, the function of all this operation of all these electronic devices, it is of paramount importance for you all to understand the basic, how this PN junction works. Start with the basic PN junction. In case of PN junction, fine, this is what we have already discussed. Now, right now, what you see in front of you is the case wherein a p-type block and n-type block, they've been brought together. Uh, Actually, speaking, they cannot be made. This PN junction cannot be made simply by pushing the two pieces together. But then, for our understanding, we can think of like, yes, there are these two blocks. One side we have the p-type region, another side we have the n-type region, and we are bringing them together. Fine. Now, at this time, we'll not bother how this PN junction is formed. Fine. In the class, we are discussing brief how it is formed. Now, the most important characteristics of a PN junction is its ability to conduct current in only one direction, and it restrains the flow of current in opposite direction. Fine. That means it offers a very high resistance in the opposite direction. So accordingly, we are going to have three cases here. The first case is wherein we don't apply any bias, so it is no biasing. The second case is that we apply a forward bias, and the third case is that we apply a reverse bias. So basically, what we mean by bias, it is this bias is nothing but application of external voltage, and physically it is a battery which provides that voltage. So here I'm having P junction and here it is N. So if I want to provide a bias, fine, I need to have a excitation source or a battery drawn here. Fine. Now if I connect P terminal to the positive plate of the battery and N side to the negative plate, it is referred to as forward bias. Fine. If I change the polarity, if I connect minus of the battery to the P side and polarity plus to the N side, it acts as a reverse bias. Then we had discussed there are several steps, how it all happens. So basically, when we don't connect any kind of a separate excitation source or battery, still there is movement of charge carriers. And whenever we have the movement of charge carriers, it is referred to as flow of current. Fine. Now, here you see this is the first condition wherein we are not applying any bias. Okay, this diode is kept say on a table, but still on account of on P side the majority charge carriers are holes, on N side majority charge carriers in case of P side is holes, and in the N region the majority charge carriers are electron. So it so happens then when we bring these two blocks together, due to the concentration gradient, the holes from the P side tries to diffuse into N side, and the electrons from N side tries to get into the P side. Fine. Now here right now the diagram what I have shown you, here these are the let me change the ink. These are the acceptor ions. Ions are immobile, they are fixed at their position. This is your donor ions. Fine. Pentavalent impurity, we have the donors. Trivalent impurity, we have the acceptors. Fine. The majority charge carriers are holes, and here the majority charge carriers are electrons. Apart from this majority charge carriers, we have few number of electrons in this side as well, and then these are referred to as minority charge carriers. Okay, likewise I have drawn here single hole. This is a hole and it acts as a minority charge carrier on n side. Now how it is represented? If I want to represent the electrons on n side, fine. Let me change the name. Electrons is represented by n from n side, subscript n, and at thermal equilibrium, as we have discussed. So n is number of electrons on n side. Similarly, p n, we can have combination n p and pp. So these are the four combinations. So now let us try to understand what is pn. P stands for number of holes, concentration of holes in n side. Number of electrons, concentration of electrons in p side. Number of holes in p side. Fine. So when a number of electrons will be majority carriers in the n side, so we can list it as majority charge carriers. Here holes in the n side region, it is mismatched, so it is minority charge carriers. NP is again minority and PP is majority charge carriers. Fine, this is what we had discussed in the last two lectures. So as I've said, like a number of electrons on n side is more, so this free electrons from the n region will diffuse into the p region, and an electron possessed by this donor ion. So there was a hole and there's an electron here. So when we bring them close, or when we close this two blocks together, then these holes and electrons, they combine. Fine. So there are no free charge carriers here. There are free charge carriers here. There are free charge carriers in this region, but in this region we don't have any free charge carriers. So they are devoid or they are depleted of charge carriers. So this region is referred to as depletion region. Okay, important concept, a depletion region. This is also referred to as space charge region. Space charge region. Fine. Now, we have discussed that atom is electrically neutral, meaning what? The number of electrons is equal to number of protons. Fine. Silicon has got 14 number of electrons and 14 number of protons. So it is electrically neutral. Phosphorus is also electrically neutral because it has got 15 electrons and 15 protons. Now, when we use this phosphorus as an impurity, so what happens is that it gives away one electron. Fine. It is giving away one electron. So net positive charge in that case will be more. Fine. Then we are referring it as ion. So it is donating one electron. So this sign represents the net positive charge will be more. And here is the electron. Likewise, a boron, atomic number is 5. Aluminium, atomic number is 13. So there exists a vacancy right in the beginning. And it will accept the electron. Fine. So they are acceptors. And these are the holes. Clear? Now, when we bring these two blocks together, the holes and electrons, they recombine. Fine. Due to the recombination in this region, we don't have any charge carriers. So we refer to it as a depletion region and it is denoted as W. Fine. This is the important line. It is a junction. Fine. So this is electrically neutral. This region, what you see here, is electrically neutral. This is electrically neutral. But here we have a slab of minus and plus. So this will result in a electric field E. Okay. And on account of this, it will develop a voltage across these two ends. And this voltage is referred to as barrier potential. Barrier potential or contact potential or built-in potential. Fine. Now, due to this natural phenomena, we have an electric field generated here. Now, what happens due to this electric field? There are these minority charge carriers. See here. These are the minority charge carriers. here, and also add on one more minority charge carrier here. So electron act as a minority charge carrier in the p region. Hole is acting as a minority charge carrier in this region. Now what will happen? Hole is positively charged, so it will be attracted by this negative plate, and this electron is negatively charged, so it will be attracted by positive plate. So there will be kind of a drift current on account of this electric field. Now another question is, why can't we have this entire holes and electrons getting recombined and end of story? This is not possible. Why? Because the moment you bring these two blocks together, within some fraction of second, this depletion region is formed. Fine, with the polarity plus and minus here. Now it so happens that these holes, okay, these remaining holes in the extreme end, if they want to move into the n side, they will be repelled by this plus sign. This is a negative slab, so if this electron tries to push them into the p side, they again will be repelled by the likewise charge. Fine, so this further recombination is not possible. Now due to this, we're going to have a built-in potential, and straight away we can write the equation for built-in potential. A built-in potential is given as VBI equals to KT by E. So this is constant and natural log of NA ND upon Ni square. Now, what are these terms? It is KT by E is a constant, and it is referred to as a thermal voltage, or voltage equivalent of temperature. Acceptor concentration, donor concentration, and this is Ni. Ni is intrinsic concentration. Fine. Now we can also write this KT by E as Vt. So built-in potential VBI equals to Vt natural log of Na Nd by Ni square. Now what about this Vt? V subscript T, if I borrow from here, it is KT by E. So I can write this as T E by K, where E is the charge on electron, 1.6 into 10 to the power 19 coulombs, and K is the Boltzmann constant. The value is 1.3806 into 10 to the power minus 23 joules per Kelvin. So if I substitute in this equation, I get the value as T upon 11,600. Fine. Now when we solve the problems, we take it this T as a room temperature, at room temperature. So normally T is taken to be 300 at room temperature divided by 11,600. So this value of Vt is 0.026 volts, or 26 millivolt. Fine. Now when you are proceeding with the problems, you need not solve, substitute the value of KTE every time and get the value of Vt. It will be constant for given temperature at 300 degree Kelvin. Mostly either room temperature, this word will appear in the numerical, or temperature will be 350 degree Kelvin or 400 degree Kelvin. Okay, there are just two sets. So if it is 350, then I need to take this value of T as 350 and get the equivalent value of Vt. So it will be almost somewhat similar. Fine. Now this is the all important equation that we're going to use today. I hope this is clear to you all. Fine. We'll not go into details of how it is work, what actually happens here. This already we have discussed in brief. So what is the most important thing here? This barrier, okay, it discourages the diffusion of majority carriers across the junction. And but what happens to minority or charge carriers? Says I have shown there are few minority charge carriers or free electrons and free holes. Now, how these free electrons and holes are generated? They are only generated due to temperature. Fine. More the temperature, more will be the minority charge carriers, and that will result into a drift current. Fine. So now we have two current components here: drift current on account of minority charge carriers and this electric field E, and we are going to have diffusion current on account of the concentration gradient. Now this concentration gradient will happen till we reach the thermal equilibrium. Okay. Now, as I said, like these minority carriers are constantly generated due to thermal energy. Fine. So I think this is sufficient background theory to proceed with our problems. Next topic is Hall effect. Now, in case of Hall effect, uh, why do we have this Hall effect? First of all, like the different applications where it's seen in the class. If I'm given a specimen or a semiconductor material, and if I'm asked to find out whether it's P type or whether it's N type, or I'm told to find out the concentration, meaning the number of electrons or number of holes, or I'm told to find out the electrical characteristics such as conductivity, resistivity, and so on. All these things we can find using the Hall effect. So basically, what is this Hall effect? Just look at this diagram right in front of you. We're having a bar of semiconductor. Fine. It has got two sides, side one and side two. It has a dimension of the area of cross section is W into D, width into D. Now, if we place this semiconductor bar, now here most important thing is it is carrying a current. Or let me change the ink. See here, I'm taking a semiconductor bar, okay, and we are injecting or introducing current through it. So in other words, this is a current carrying bar, and we are keeping it in a magnetic field. So current is flowing in this direction, okay, and it is placed in a magnetic field which is perpendicular to the current. Fine. So magnetic field is marked as B, current is marked as I. Now, this phenomena will result in potential difference across these two ends, across these two plates. And this is what is referred to as Hall effect, meaning a voltage will be generated across these two sides. Because from our elementary physics, electromagnetics, we know that if a current carrying conductor is placed in a transverse, that is a perpendicular magnetic field, then it will experience an electromagnetic force, isn't it? And looking at the direction, okay, the current is flowing from left to right in the x direction, then the magnetic field is in the z direction. So it will generate a electric potential in the y direction. Fine. And depending upon the number of depending upon the semiconductor, p type or n type, we are going to develop a voltage. Fine. Now let us take a first case. For example, let us say a case wherein this bar, this box is of p type. We are assuming we are considering it to be of p type. Fine. So if I pass a current through this bar, what will happen is that uh, the holes will move from left to right, because you know the basic fundamental theory. uh, Conventional flow of current is shown in this direction. Okay, conventional flow of current is shown in this direction, and actually the electrons travel in direction opposite to the conventional flow of current. If the electrons are traveling in this direction, it will create holes or the movement of holes in this direction. So holes and the current are actually moving in the same direction. Fine. Now, in this case, the current is moving from left to right. The holes are also moving from left to right. That's the standard notation. Now, since this electromagnetic force is acting downwards, here. Fine. So more holes will accumulate. This is what I have shown here. More holes will accumulate towards the bottom surface here. These are the holes here. They will get accumulate at the bottom plate, that is side 1. So this side 1 becomes positively charged because there are plenty of holes here, and we have considered holes to be as positive charge. It is absence of electron. Fine, for our understanding. So this plate becomes positively charged with respect to side 2. So therefore potential difference V, okay, will develop between side 1 and side 2, and this voltage is referred to as Hall voltage, and it is denoted as VH. Second case, if I consider this, of say a bar is of N type, and again the same situation, same conditions, the current is flowing from left to right, and electrons are moving from right to left, from this basic understanding. Okay, so due to this electromagnetic force, these electrons will accumulate towards the bottom side, that is the side 1, making it a negatively charged with respect to side 2. So if we are given any bar of semiconductor and we don't have any idea about whether it's N type or P type, what we need to do, we just need to check out the value of VH, find the voltage across the two ends, two sides, fine, and then we can determine whether it is N type or P type. Okay, now I'll not go into the entire direction that was solved in the class. So let me write the important equations. uh, Electric field E is V by D. Fine. V is the voltage which is getting generated across the plates or sides 1 and 2. Potential difference, let me write here. Potential difference developed between the sides 1 and 2. Okay, and what is this D? Is this distance. Then the current density J is equal to I by cross section area. So it is I by WD. So we can also write this J as rho V, where this V is the drift velocity and this is the charge density. Next, we had set up an equation. Electric field equals to magnetic field. And then if I simplify this, what I get is the Hall voltage equals to, so because of shortage of time, I'm just writing the equation, fine, Hall voltage. And then we had something called as Hall coefficient, denoted as RH, which is 1 by rho, or RH can also be written as VW by BI. Fine. So this is about the equation that we are going to use to solve the numericals. First one, consider a germanium. You can go through it, the statement. Okay, consider a germanium diode. Now, here, this germanium has got, it's providing you some information. The information is, if it is silicon, the built-in potential is 0.7 volt. If it is silicon, let me write here, the built-in potential is 0.7 volt. If it is germanium, the built-in potential is near about 0.25 or 0.3 volts. Okay, that means what? If I want to make this silicon diode conduct, this is the symbol for diode. Okay, uh, cylindrical body with a ring cathode. Now, if I want to make this diode conduct, then it will consume 0.7 volt for itself. If it is made up of silicon, if it is germanium, 0.3. What is this? This is basically a built-in potential. Fine. See, if you look at this equation, this built-in potential depends on these parameters. Fine. Nowhere in this expression the term voltage is appearing. Fine. That means what? This built-in potential is independent of applied voltage. Irrespective of whatever voltage you are applying, it will not affect your VBI. This VBI will purely depend on the make of your semiconductor device. Make in the sense it will depend on the concentration of acceptor ions, concentration of donor ion, and intrinsic concentration. So it's purely a function of this donor and intrinsic concentration and the temperature to certain extent. But then we are considering it to be at room temperature, so it is 26 millivolt. But again, it depends on to certain extent on temperature and this concentration. Nowhere in this expression voltage term is appearing. That means this VBI built-in potential is independent of V. Okay, so proceed. Uh, why I'm telling you all this is, once you calculate the barrier potential height, it is also referred to as height of potential barrier. Fine. If you're getting the answer something like 3.4 or 2.8, that means it's totally wrong, because you should get the answer near about to this value, 0.3 volts. Fine. So let us start. Always you start with the given data. So here ND equals to NA. The value is 8 into 10 to the power 14 per centimeter cube. Intrinsic concentration Ni equals to here 2 into 10 to the power 13 per centimeter cube. What is asked at room temperature? Fine. At room temperature, the value of Vt, that is Kt by E, is 26 millivolts. Fine. So what is asked is the barrier, potential barrier under open circuit conditions. In the next tutorial, we'll see what is the effect if we apply the bias across it. Fine. So in today's class, as for today's understanding, we don't require any voltage across the two terminals. Now, there are different ways by we can represent it as VBI, built-in potential, or we can write it as VO. It is one and the same thing, different textbook, different notations. KT by E, then NA ND by Ni square. So if you solve this, I'll directly you have to second step is you have to replace all these values, and the third, the answer is 0.19 volts. Answer: the height of potential barrier under open circuit conditions is equal to 0.19 volts. I hope this is clear. Simple, straightforward problem. So VBI is typically 0.19. Theoretically, we assume it to be as 0.3 volt. The fluctuation are always expected in electronic devices because the size. Next problem, determine the space charge width and electric field. Now there are two parts to this problem, in fact three parts. space charge field is the value of W. We can actually
and
calculate the
electric field E.
built-in potential. Now this W is directly related to built-in potential. Uh, like W is the junction width. This W is the yeah, this width. Okay, yeah, this is the width W. So this W, for your information, this we are going to derive in the class. Um, this is E naught ER built-in potential E Na plus Nd divided by Na dot Nd product raised to half. And electric field is minus of charge Nd. This is again E naught product of E naught relative permittivity into Xn. Uh, for example, if this is the junction, here this width is the depletion width. Fine. Uh, for reference, we'll take this as 0. So this dimension here, or from the n side, is xn, and this dimensions, the length from the center of the, means from the junction to this point, is xp. So actually xn plus xp equals to w. This we are going to cover in tomorrow's class, but for your just for your information, you can make out this w is directly related to the vbi. Fine. Okay, let us proceed with this. The built-in potential is given as solution. First you write down the given data, then equation. The built-in potential is given as VBI equals to VT, or log to the base E, Na Nd Ni square. At temperature 300 Kelvin. So it is VT is what? KT by E, or T by K. This we have already solved. 300 by 11,600, 0.026 volts. Fine. So I'll write here 300 by 11,600 is the value of Vt, log to the base E. Na is how much? 1 into 10 to the power 16. So 10 to the power 16 into 10 to the power Nd, and D is here. 10 to the power and D is 70. We'll make it as 15. Fine. Number of holes are more as compared to number of electrons. 10 to the power 15. Uh, you remember we had discussed, like in the one of the lectures, instead of taking this as Pn, we take it as P plus N. Fine. This is the best example. Here the donor concentration is 10 to the power 15, and here the concentration is 10 to the power 16. Now why are we having this? On one side we are having higher. That's because of you can get a better electrical component, better electrical parameters out of it, better conductivity and so on. Fine. If it was just P and N, then the previous case here, Na equals to Nd. That means on one side we have P, the other side we are having N. When I say Na is 10 to the power 16 and Nd is 10 to the power 15, That means the concentration of holes is 10 times more as compared to the number of electrons. Clear? Divided by intrinsic concentration is 1.5 into 10 to the power 2. So if we solve this, 31, this is 20. If you solve this, you're going to get a value of 0.635 volts. So I've taken both the cases now. In the problem statement, it is mentioned as silicon. And from our background theory, we know silicon, it has to be the built-in potential has to be near about 0.7 volt. Clear? We have also taken a case when Na equals to Nd, it is P and N. And second case, we have considered a silicon, and it is number of holes are more as compared to number of electrons. Fine. It is 10 to the power 15. So next, the third problem, it is based on Hall effect. Hall effect in p-type semiconductor equals to, or it is represented as RH E. Okay, and this is the conductivity. So conductivity is obtained from the resistivity. The resistivity is given in the problem. Fine. So we can find the conductivity. This implies conductivity equals to 1. What is the value? 9 milli. Milli is 10 to the power minus 3. So it is resistivity value is 11.11. Unit will be per ohm. Here it is meter. Fine. So this is the conductivity. So we have to replace this value here. So we can easily calculate the Hall coefficient as RH equals to uh, its holes have a mobility of 0.03 meters square per volts second. So 0.03 meter square volt second, and conductivity is here 111.11 meter. So answer what we get is 7 into 10 to the power minus 4 amount of meter cube by C. Fine. So simple problem. Only thing is you have to you have to understand the concept and relate the equation to the problem statement. Next problem. Problem number 4. A sample of N-type semiconductor has a resistivity. So solution, given data, it has a resistivity of 0.1 ohms centimeter. Hall coefficient of this. Check out the units. Okay. Last previous problem it was meter cube per column. Here it is a centimeter cube per column. Uh, N-type semiconductor. So only electrons are acting as carriers. We are not considering the holes as charge carriers here. If you recollect, we had seen one of the problem wherein the number of electrons, if it is very much greater than p, so we had taken two: exact analysis and approximate analysis. I think last tutorial, and we ended up getting the same answer. Fine. So here resistivity is given. Electrons carrier, determine the electron density meaning the concentration and the mobility. So what we are
conductivity.
interested in is finding the number of electrons. What we are having the total amount of charge. So charge divided by or the electron or the value of E, that is 1.6 in 10 to the power minus 19 coulombs, we will get the electron density. So total charge divided by charge on single electron. Fine. That will give me the electron density. So it is charge density is 10 to the power 4, 1.602 into 10 to the power minus 19. This is 6.25 into 10 to the power 22 per meter cube from centimeter. And what is left is the mobility. Mobility mu is conductive into RH product. So 0.1 into RH is 100 by 10 to the power 6. The answer is 10 to the power minus 5 volts meter square per volt second. This is problem number 4. And now I'll be uploading this video. You can pause the slide and you can revise this. Okay. Now coming to the last problem. Determine the mobility of holes in p-type semiconductor. Assume the bar resistivity as 200 kilo ohms centimeter. The magnetic field is B equals to 0.1 Weber per meter square. The dimension D equals to W is 3 millimeters, and the measured values of the current and voltages are given 10 microamperes and 50 millivolts respectively. Millivolts, that is 50 into 10 to the power minus of 3. Then the current I is 10 microamperes here. So it is 10 into 10 to the power minus 6 amperes. The magnetic flux density B subscript Z in the Z direction is 0.1 Weber per meter square. What we are asked is to find the mobility of holes. Fine. The mobility of holes, mobility of holes in p-type semiconductor. Previous problem properly we taken n-type semiconductor. Okay, so mobility mu h is conductivity into the RH, and what is RH is the Hall coefficient. So Hall coefficient is denoted as RH, and RH equals to this is the formula, or we can write this as Hall voltage W into BI. So if you substitute the values, the next step will be substitute all these values. 50 into 10 to the power minus 3, 3 into 10 to the power minus 3, or 0.1, and 10 into 10 to the power minus 6. The answer is 150 meter cube per coulombs, and mobility is RH. And here instead of conductivity, we will make use of a resistivity, RH by rho. So RH value is 150 and the resistivity is 200. So answer is 0.075 the square volt. This is the mobility, the value of speed. Okay, meter square up by volts into second. So we have completed the 5 problems the concept that we have covered in last three classes. Uh, this tutorial three problems are already uploaded in the classroom, so you can download and you can solve them. And by okay, these are just similar problems, only the values have been changed